Hey there, so glad you're here. This is Reddit Stories Podcast. Relax, you're safe here. Here's our first story. Am I the jerk for telling my sister to shut up after she's been crying for weeks since her boyfriend broke up with her because of her cheating? So this whole mess started about a month ago, and I'll be honest, I'm still not sure if I handled it the right way or if I just had a complete breaking point. My sister, who's 22, had been with her boyfriend for about 2 years. On paper, he seemed like a solid guy. He worked full-time, kept their place running, did most of the cooking, and even handled the cleaning when he had the energy. My sister did not. She liked to act like she pulled her weight, but I'd been over to their apartment enough times to see how things really looked. She'd pick up a broom for 2 minutes, push some crumbs into a corner, then spend the rest of the day posting selfies about how domestic she was. The reality was, she spent most of her time out with friends, barely ever home, and when she was home, she was glued to her phone. It wasn't a secret to anyone paying attention that she wasn't really invested in that relationship. The final blow came because she was cheating. Not with some stranger either, but with her boyfriend's childhood best friend. This guy had been in his life forever. Family barbecues, sleepovers as kids, best man material one day. That's who she chose to sneak around with. She would tell her boyfriend she was hanging out with girlfriends or at study groups, then she'd be off with him. And the way it came out was almost laughable if it wasn't so ugly. The guy posted a photo that wasn't supposed to go public. Nothing graphic, but very obvious what was going on. My sister came home one night and found her bags packed by the door. He didn't even give her a speech, just pointed at the door. She begged, she cried, but he told her it was done. So guess where she ended up? My apartment. The first night, she curled up on my couch and cried into a pillow. That's normal, I thought. Breakups suck, even if you're the one in the wrong. I tried to be decent. I made her tea, gave her space, figured she'd get it out of her system. But it didn't stop. Every night, I'd hear her sobbing through the walls. 2 a.m, 3 a.m, every night like clockwork. At first, I tried checking in. She would just say the same things. How unfair it was. How he should have given her another chance. How she didn't even love that other guy and it was just a mistake. She never once admitted fault. Days turned into weeks. She would sleep half the day, wake up and cry again. My apartment turned into a free therapy office, except I wasn't getting paid and she wasn't doing any actual reflecting. She kept saying things like, he should have been more supportive, or that, if he really loved me, he would have fought for me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Meanwhile, I'm the one picking up the slack. She wasn't helping with groceries, wasn't cleaning up after herself, wasn't even offering to chip in on rent while staying there. I'd come home from work and there'd be tissues everywhere, dishes piled up, and her sitting on the couch scrolling through her ex's social media, crying all over again. One morning, I woke up early to actually enjoy a quiet cup of tea before heading out. The sun wasn't even fully up yet. I sat at my little kitchen table, finally feeling like I had a few minutes of peace. Then she wandered in, sat down next to me, and started crying again. Loud, heavy sobs. She went on about how unfair life was, how nobody understood her, how her ex was cruel for not forgiving her. Something in me snapped. I put my cup down, looked at her, and told her to shut up. Not politely either. I said she needed to shut up already, that this was her own doing, and she had no right to act like the victim when she cheated on someone who bent over backwards for her. I told her she didn't love him, because if she had, she wouldn't have been sneaking around with his best friend. I told her I was done listening to her cry about unfairness when she caused the whole thing. She went dead quiet, then jumped up, called me a jerk, slammed my bedroom door, and stayed in there the rest of the day. The next morning, she packed her bag and left without saying a word. That was almost a week ago. She hasn't called or texted since. Part of me feels bad because she is my sister, and she was obviously hurting. But the bigger part of me thinks she needed someone to finally tell her the truth. Everyone else in her life coddles her. My parents always make excuses for her behavior. Her friends enable her, and now she's shocked that her actions actually had consequences. I don't mind the silence. In fact, my apartment has never been more peaceful. But sometimes I wonder if I was in the wrong to snap like that. Maybe I could have been more gentle or just ignored her. Then again, ignoring her hadn't worked for 2 weeks. So, was I the jerk for finally telling her to shut up, or was it about time someone said what needed to be said? When she starts going on about how unfair life is, that usually means she's about to hand you a bill or expect you to cover something. You need to set a firm deadline for when she's moving out. Otherwise, congratulations, you've just gained a new roommate. And be careful legally. Depending on how long she stays, you could end up in a situation where you'd actually have to go through an eviction process. Protect yourself, because she already sounds toxic enough without adding legal headaches on top. Cheating is cheating, period. It doesn't matter who it's with. It's still sneaking around and breaking your partner's trust. If you realize you want to be with someone else, you end your current relationship before doing anything. Trying to excuse it or act like it doesn't count just makes it worse.
If you want out of a relationship, just break up first. Don't collect side quests.
Side quests never come with loyalty points.
Just a one-way ticket out the front door.
Landlord messed around and found out. Guess who missed our court date? From the moment I moved in, my landlord made it clear she never liked me. And the main reason? I have a service animal. From day one, she treated it like some kind of personal insult. She complained, she nitpicked, and she tried to invent reasons to evict me. After a while, I realized she wasn't going to stop. Every little thing turned into a battle. She'd accuse me of things I hadn't done, drag her feet on maintenance, and flat out ignore messages. It wasn't just annoying, it was discrimination. So I decided to fight back. I filed 2 complaints, one with the Human Rights Tribunal and one with the Landlord-Tenant Board. The great thing about living in Canada is that these channels exist. They're designed to be accessible, they're free, and you don't even need a lawyer. I figured if she was going to make my life miserable, I might as well take full advantage of the system that protects tenants. Now, here's where the fun begins. When you're involved in one of these cases, you have to send the other party your documents. In my case, that meant mailing her notices of the hearing and all of the evidence I'd gathered. On the lease, she hadn't given me her home address. Instead, she gave me a P.O. box. Fine by me. I got to work printing everything, and let me tell you, it was not a slim packet. I'd collected months of emails, photos, and documentation, and it came out thick. Too thick, in fact, to fit into a P.O. box slot, which meant Canada Post left one of those little pickup slips. She couldn't get her documents without physically going into the post office during business hours. That post office, by the way, is only open while she's at work. And since she clearly never checked her P.O. box anyway, the slip sat there untouched. I had even emailed her the later parts of the evidence file, labeled everything carefully, and told her to let me know if she was missing anything. Predictably, she ignored it. So when the day of the tribunal hearing arrived, I knew what was coming. She hadn't uploaded any evidence. She hadn't provided any contact info to the court. And when the court called her at our scheduled time slot, she didn't pick up. Who answers a private number if they aren't expecting it? Not her. The hearing went on without her. Because I was asking for more than just a slap on the wrist, compensation for out-of-pocket costs, plus a long list of repairs, the adjudicator decided to adjourn and schedule a longer session for a few weeks later. Normally, that would feel like a delay, but in this case, it was a win. Now, not only did I have more time to present my case, but her complete absence from the first hearing made her look negligent. It strengthened everything that I was arguing. And to think, this all could have been avoided. Months earlier, I had offered her a settlement. All I wanted was an apology and $380 to cover what I'd already spent. That was it. She laughed it off. Now the number is much higher, and the list of repairs is much longer. The irony is that I didn't even have to play dirty. Mailing everything to her P.O. box was within the rules. I did it in good faith, knowing it might be inconvenient, but still valid. If she had bothered to check, she would have known about the hearing. If she had shown a shred of civility, I might have been willing to compromise. Instead, she doubled down, and now she looks worse than ever. And let's not forget, this all started because she couldn't keep her opinions about my disability and my service dog to herself. She tried to make me feel unwelcome in my own home. She tried to bully me into leaving, but I'm not going anywhere. The case isn't closed yet, but the way things are going, she's already lost. I'm not sure how it works in Canada, but in the US, you can sometimes have the court agree to let you pay your monthly rent directly to them. The court holds it until the landlord makes the necessary repairs. That way, you can't be evicted for non-payment, and it usually motivates the landlord to fix things a lot faster. Another option is a concept called pendens, which is similar to a lien on the property. She could have been done with the issues for petty cash. Won't be so petty now. I hope the legal system rakes her over the coals and back again. Your landlord is a piece of work that needs a little more than a bit of humility. God forbid, what happens next is a large rent increase. Update. The new date finally rolled around, and let's just say it did not go well for her. In the weeks leading up to the hearing, I prepared like a maniac. I went through every single email, text, and photo I'd saved since moving in. Every time she ignored a repair request, every time she sent a snide message, every passive-aggressive note about my dog. It all went into a neatly labeled folder. I even took new photos of the things she still hadn't fixed, like the leaky faucet and the busted lock on the back door. If I was going to war, I was going in fully armed. Meanwhile, she still did nothing. No uploaded evidence, no contract with the tribunal. She was acting like if she ignored the whole thing, it would magically disappear. The day of the hearing came. This time, she actually answered the phone. I could practically hear the panic in her voice when the adjudicator asked why she hadn't uploaded anything in advance. She tried to play it off like she hadn't been given notice. That's when the adjudicator asked me to confirm how I'd served her. I explained, calmly, that I mailed the documents to the P.O. box listed on the lease, that Canada Post left a pickup slip because the envelope was too large, and that I also emailed her later evidence with a full list of files. The adjudicator asked if she had checked her P.O. box during that time. She admitted she hadn't. She started blaming her work hours, how busy she was, how unfair it was. The adjudicator cut her off and said, "That's not the tenant's problem." You could almost hear her deflate through the phone. From there, it was basically me laying out months of evidence while she scrambled to come up with excuses. I showed emails where I'd reported maintenance issues, followed up and been ignored. I presented the timeline of when I offered a settlement, $380 and an apology, and how she had refused. Then I showed how things had escalated since then. At one point, she tried to argue that my service dog wasn't necessary and that she should be allowed to evict me because of it. Big mistake. The adjudicator shut that down immediately and reminded her of the law. It was like watching someone step on a rake over and over. By the end of it, she looked negligent, petty, and discriminatory. I looked like a tenant who had gone above and beyond to be reasonable, only to be pushed into defending myself. The ruling didn't come right away. It usually takes a little time for the official order to be written, but the adjudicator made a few things clear before we ended. She told the landlord that her failure to pick up her documents and attend the first hearing would weigh heavily against her. She told her that her behavior toward my service animal was discriminatory, and she told her that if repairs weren't made immediately, she'd be facing additional penalties. So what does this mean? Well, for starters, the compensation I asked for is now almost 10 times what I originally offered. Instead of $380, I'm asking for a few thousand to cover expenses, damages, and the months of stress she caused. On top of that, she has to complete the long list of repairs or face fines. And the best part? The tribunal will be monitoring compliance. She doesn't get to just brush it off anymore. After the hearing, I actually got an email from her. She tried to guilt trip me, saying she was disappointed that I escalated things and that if I had just respected her authority as landlord, none of this would have happened. I didn't even bother responding. I forwarded it straight to the tribunal as further evidence of her attitude. The funny thing is, yes, this all could have been avoided. If she had just accepted my original settlement, a simple apology and $380, we wouldn't be here. If she had checked her email, uploaded her evidence, or even answered the court's first call, she might have had a fighting chance. Instead, she doubled down on being stubborn, and now she's facing a bill that could wipe out months of rent profit. And me? I'm not going anywhere. My service dog isn't going anywhere. And once the repairs are finally done, I'll be living in a safer, more comfortable home. All because she couldn't swallow her pride. The case is technically still open until the final order is issued, but the writing is on the wall. She thought she could bully me into leaving. Instead, she managed to prove my case for me. Honestly, this is exactly why those tribunals exist. She thought she could just ignore everything and it would go away, and now she's basically gift-wrapped your case for you. Good on you for documenting everything and staying calm. A lot of tenants don't realize how much power they actually have when landlords cross the line. The mental image of that post office slip sitting in her P.O. box while she just keeps walking past it is hilarious. She played herself. All she had to do was be decent, and now she's out thousands and probably has to fix every little thing you listed. That's karma with postage paid. As someone with a service animal, I'm really proud of you for standing your ground. People don't realize how exhausting it is to constantly justify something that's literally protected by law. She tried to bully you out, and instead, she ended up making herself look discriminatory in front of tribunal. I hope you get every penny and every repair.
So the first time homegirl just skipped the hearing, and the second time she showed up completely unprepared.
Yep, she went from speed running how to lose a case to live streaming it.
Guess her whole strategy was ignore the mail and hope for the best.
All it did was hand OP an even stronger case. Am I the jerk for ruining my parents' marriage by finding my biological father and exposing my mom's lies? For as long as I, 19 male, can remember, I knew the man who raised me wasn't my biological father. It wasn't a secret in our family, and honestly, it never bothered me much. He was my dad. He treated me like his own, and I knew I was loved. My mom had always told us the same story. She said my biological father wanted nothing to do with me. Then once he found out she was pregnant, he walked away. I grew up thinking this guy had abandoned me before I was even born. When I was around 12, I started dealing with health issues. Nothing life-ending, but serious enough that doctors kept asking about family medical history. We could give half, but the other half was a mystery. I remember doctors saying, if you can ever get the missing background, it would help us treat you better. Mom swore she had reached out to my biological father and that he refused to provide anything. She painted the picture of someone so cold that he wouldn't even help a sick kid. That cut deep. I was just a kid, struggling to stay healthy, being told my own father didn't care if I lived or not. My dad, the man who raised me, was the one who comforted me when I got upset. He would sit with me and remind me that I wasn't missing anything because he was there. I clung to that, but the anger toward this stranger who supposedly hated me built up. Years went by like that. Then, about a year ago, my aunt, my mom's sister, pulled me aside. She told me things might not be what they seemed. She said it might be a good idea to look for answers myself. She didn't give details, just hinted that there was more to the story. I pressed her, but she wouldn't say more. The only thing she did say was, the worst that can happen is he ignores you, or he gets mad, but maybe you'll finally get some answers. That stuck with me. After thinking it over, I decided to do a 23andMe test. I wasn't expecting much, maybe just some distant cousins. But when the results came back, I got matched with a paternal aunt. From there, everything unraveled. She was shocked to learn about me, absolutely blindsided. She told me right away that she was certain her brother, my biological father, had no idea I even existed. At first, she acted as a go-between. She wanted to make sure I was comfortable and that he was open to meeting me. Within a short time, she arranged for us to talk and then to meet face-to-face. When we finally met, it was overwhelming. He had already gathered medical information for me, explaining the condition I'd inherited, and even telling me that he would be a donor if I ever needed it. He kept apologizing, over and over. He said he had no idea I existed, that he was never told about the pregnancy, and that if he had known, he never would have walked away. He told me the reason he and my mom broke up was because she cheated. After that, she cut all contact with him, and even with my aunt, who had gotten along well with him. It was a lot to take in. On one hand, I was relieved to finally have the missing medical information. On the other, I was angry at the years of lies. I told him I'd have more questions later once I could process everything. After that, I went to my mom. At first, she denied it all. She said it was lies, tried to turn it back on me, asked why I went behind her back. When I told her what I had learned, she eventually admitted the truth. She said that after she cheated and the guy she had an affair with left her, she met my dad. She made up the story about my biological father abandoning me so we could be a normal family. She never told him about me, not even when I got sick and doctors needed information, because she wanted to keep her secret. I was hurt, but it wasn't just me. My dad, the man who raised me, was devastated. He was furious she had denied me and my biological father the chance to know each other. He was even angrier that she lied to him for their entire relationship. He said she made him complicit in something he never would have agreed to, which was keeping me away from my father. On top of that, he was livid that she was willing to make my health harder to manage just to protect her lie. The medical information I got from my biological father was immediately useful for my doctors, so in that sense, it was worth it. But it destroyed my family. My dad has moved out. He wants a divorce. My mom is furious with me, but more than that, she's unraveling because the truth is out. The worst part is my siblings. They know what happened, but instead of blaming my mom, they're blaming me. They tell me I ruined the family by digging up the past. They act like if I had just left it alone, everything would still be fine. But everything wasn't fine. For years, I thought my biological father hated me. For years, my mom lied to me and my dad. She even made my health worse just to protect herself. And now, yes, their marriage is over and my relationship with her is broken. So here I am wondering, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Sorry about your mom, but congratulations on having potentially 2 really great dads. It sucks, but you're in a rare position. You have a dad who has loved and cared for you your whole life, and now you also have a dad who loved you the moment he realized you existed. And that's not the same as loving an easy-to-love baby. You were already grown, and he still stepped up without hesitation.
2 dads, both stepping up? That's like winning the family lottery.
Yeah, except the prize was delayed shipping on the second ticket.
My mother took out a $50,000 loan in my name without my knowledge.
My mother has always been very bad with money, but she's a very good liar. When I was in my teens, my dad got really sick and he couldn't work. That left my mother in charge of the finances. I'm an only child, so we never really struggled for money. But when my dad got sick, we went from being upper middle class to lower middle class very quickly. My dad's medical treatments were insanely expensive. Suddenly, our electricity would be shut off randomly. I never knew if the water would be cut off or if the internet and phones would be disconnected. We would get notices on the door of our home constantly. All of this made me nervous because I didn't understand what was happening. Every time I asked my mother what was going on, she would tell me that everything was fine and that it must have been a mistake by the utility company. I trusted her, so I thought it was normal. When I was 17, I decided I wanted to go to college. When I asked my mom about it, she told me that she was excited and that she and my dad had a college fund saved up that would pay for it. She said they were going to take care of everything. What that actually meant was taking out a $50,000 loan in my name when I was 17. I had no idea my mom did that, and I have no idea how she did it without my knowledge. I'm assuming that she forged my signature at some point. So I went to college without ever knowing it was costing me money. I was in my second semester of freshman year when I realized something was wrong with my mother. I got a call from MasterCard saying I had missed my monthly payments for several months. The problem was I didn't have a MasterCard. I didn't have any credit cards at all, to my knowledge. When I called my mom, crying and telling her that my identity had been stolen, she calmly said that she had some credit cards in my name. Because she acted like that was a perfectly reasonable thing for a parent to do, I believed it. I trusted my mom. She told me she would take care of everything, but I would still get collections calls that I had to beg her to handle. I struggled financially through all 4 years of college. At one point, she stopped paying for my college housing, so on top of going to school and working, I was constantly worried about being evicted. It was around the time I graduated that I realized my mother had taken out a huge student loan in my name. By then, I was stuck with a degree that was never going to get me a job that would allow me to pay off a loan that big. At one point in my 20s, I had to move back in with my parents because my job wasn't covering my rent and student loan payments. During that 6-month period, my mom was served with court papers 3 different times. I would go to the door and someone from the court would ask for my mother and then hand her papers saying, "You've been served." Every time it happened, she wouldn't tell me what it was about and would just say, "It was a mistake." My dad eventually got better and he was able to work again. He now has a really good paying job, but they have a lot of medical debt and whatever other debt my mom has gotten herself into. I'm in my 30s now, and I monitor my credit closely, mostly because I worry about my mother committing identity theft. I have clear boundaries with her, but she still lies, and she has never apologized for putting me in the financial position that I'm in now. I do love her because I know she was just struggling to keep our family afloat, but she should have been honest about how poor we actually were. She should not have let me go to college thinking it was financially sound decision, and she should never have used me and my credit like a bank. Now I never know who to trust or what's real. Is reality what I know it is, or is reality what my mom says it is? My dad is trying to force my uncontrollable stepsister on my trip, and I told him I would never forgive him. I, 17 female, am graduating, and my friends and I have already planned a trip to a cabin for this summer before we start college. I've been babysitting since I was 13, so I've saved up a considerable amount of money. When I was 15, my dad got remarried about a year and a half after my mom passed. My dad's wife had a 13-year-old daughter, and as soon as we moved in together, they started pushing her off on me and forcing us to do everything together. I don't like my stepsister. She's always throwing tantrums if she doesn't get what she wants. She's so spoiled that at my 16th birthday, she got her own special cake so she wouldn't feel left out, and she also blew out the candles on my cake. When I complained, my dad told me, "It's time to grow up. Being a sister is about sharing things." I told him I didn't have a sister, and I guess she overheard, which led to a rampage that ruined the party. I distanced myself more from them after that. I'm often forced to either take her with me to places or stay home with her if I can't take her, or if my dad and wife can't watch her or don't want to deal with her. I was forced to take her bowling, where she kept trying to dig her hands into the part where the balls come out of, and even tried running down the lane. I had to take her home, ruining my night. This happens a lot, but they just don't care. I tried to keep this trip a secret from her, but when I was in my room on the phone talking about it over pizza and music, I found out that she snuck in and hid in the closet to eavesdrop. She burst out asking if she could come along, and I told her no and to get out. She started stomping her feet and ran off. My friends begged me not to invite her. My dad called me downstairs and asked if she could go because she could use a vacation. I told him I'm not taking her. They can take her on a vacation, but I'm not watching her alone for almost 3 weeks. My dad's wife called me selfish and said that since my dad was paying for a portion of it, if Lily doesn't go, then I don't get to go. I told her she doesn't have a say in this. She's not my mom, and she should stop forcing her kid on me when she created this situation. Lily started yelling at me about not being a good big sister and not wanting to spend time with her. I snapped and told her I didn't want to. She ran away crying, and my dad said he won't pay for the rest of the trip if I don't take her. I told him if he did that, I would not talk to him anymore, nor would I forgive him. He said I'm being dramatic and that she isn't that bad. So I grabbed a bag and went to my aunt's house, my mom's sister, and I told her what happened. She said she would cover what he took away and that when I go to college, I can stay with her. I told my dad what I was doing, and he blew up at me, saying I was being a brat and that they're my family now, not my aunt. As far as I know, Lily doesn't have any disabilities. She's been to doctors and to therapy. She's just extremely spoiled and acts this way to get her way. She knows she has to cry and stomp around to get what she wants. Your aunt is acting more like family than your dad. I agree. See if you can live with your aunt from now on. Are you dependent on your dad for college? OP. I'm not. My mom left me money for 2 years. I decided to do an RN program and then go back once I work and save up more money. Update 6 months later. The trip happened and I did not end up taking her, as I said I wouldn't. From the time I posted until the time I left, the household was very tense and awkward. I wasn't speaking to any of them. The only person I had to confide in was my aunt, so I'm grateful for her. My dad still thought I should bring Lily on the trip. I kept telling him that I was not watching her and she was not coming with me. On the morning of the trip, we left around 6 in the morning, and when he called me, I was already about 5 hours out, so he couldn't do anything. When I got back, there was a lot of yelling and crying from me, my dad, and his wife. She said I left them in a tough position and they had to stay home because they couldn't get anyone to watch Lily. My dad and I had a serious talk for hours, and he agreed that maybe we need to separate to work on our relationship, which hurt me because I would have liked for him to tell me I could stay in my own home while we did that. But I did end up going to my aunt's house with no issues. My dad and I started family therapy with just the two of us. His wife was pretty upset he was actually listening to me and seeing where I was coming from. Right when we were getting good and building a better relationship, I came over for dinner, and he asked if we could integrate his wife and Lily into therapy. I told him I had no interest in having a relationship with them. She called me a selfish jerk and said I needed to be grateful she let me stay with them after she moved in. I waited for my dad to correct her, but he was silent, so I left and I haven't talked to him in almost a month. He keeps showing me that he will not be on my side. So to wrap things up, the cabin trip was fun. I've never felt so free from a burden. The trip was in June and we were there for about a month. We even extended it. When I was packing for school, my dad came to visit, and I guess his wife called, so he had to lie about where he was because she doesn't want him to see me. I told him we don't need to have contact right now or continue therapy because it's clear which part of his family he cares more about. I don't know what's going to become of my dad, and right now I don't care. I'm focused on school and studying to become a nurse. I don't want any negativity to ruin this experience, but I'd be lying if I said it doesn't hurt that I don't have a parent to experience this with. My aunt says that she is my surrogate mom and to share all of my worries and successes with her. I'm currently in my first week of college, and the amount of freedom I feel here is also new. I'm a little overwhelmed, but I'm in an honors club, a creative writing and book club, and the friends that I've made are amazing. I'm currently living on campus and have never been better mentally. I'm getting separate therapy to deal with my mom's passing because that was never offered to me by my dad. My aunt has truly become a mother figure to me. Being 2 states away from her is really hard, but I can't wait for weekend visits and holiday visits. Also, another thing is that I'm going to become a godmother. My aunt was told at 22 that she would never be able to have kids, and she's currently 4 months pregnant. I'm so excited because if anybody is going to be a good mother, I know it's going to be her. When she came to visit and tell me, I think she saw that I was a little worried. I told her I'm so excited and happy for her and nothing will change that, but she's the only family I have right now, and I don't want to get left behind like I did at home. We cried, and she promised me that she was filling in for my mom and would be there for the rest of my life, whether I wanted her or not.
That's all for now, but don't be blue. We'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Redder every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright. Now click this playlist, come follow along. We'll be right here. Until then, so long.